Hey folks, welcome back. Today's gonna be a little bit more of a serious conversation. Normally I had a little kind of funny video and everything, a little cheesy Rudy, but we're gonna have to kind of talk about what's going on in reality here. So first things first, on average, on a normal month, I would say I probably move about, I'd say 2,500 boxes of standard. On a bad month, maybe 2,000 boxes between Patreon, online, local, store pickups, different locations, and all categories combined. On a really good month, I would say, or not a really good month, just maybe really busy month, I'd say on a really, really hot month, I guess is a better word choice to use, with really booming Magic economy, I'd say that number can push towards 4,000 boxes. In the last few weeks, in the last few, probably the last 30, 60 days, you guys have noticed I've had a little bit of a tone shift change on this channel regarding returning of like the 2017 more bitter, angry Rudy, from a lot of people remember. And in the last 48 hours, since this secret lair with crossover thing with the Walking Dead in this mechanically unique this and that terminology, I don't think I've really seen, like, over the years, I've seen a lot of anger and frustration. Usually it's directed towards, people like me or evil investors or the reserve list, just standard things I like to call flare up, cool off, disappear. They come back 6, 12 months later and they rinse and repeat. The same old stuff that really doesn't do anything. Nobody really cares. It's the same thing as a new cycle of players comes in. They try to get the pitchforks, get angry at the reserve list when it goes up. And the reserve list starts to sell off like 2018, 2019, and everybody gets real quiet. Now it's going back up again. Everybody gets the pitchforks to the reserve list. Same old stuff, but this is a little different. Officially, a lot of people are calling this, at least to messages to me, apparently we've entered the crossover era. So you guys know I've been talking a lot about how the Golden Age, which is reserve list sealed boxes, and Silver Age, which is before they did printed demand type terminology in the 2000s, and then in 2000, about 2011, when that ended, we went to the Bronze Age, which was RTR Ford, and kind of created that every 3-6 months Wizards would reevaluate their warehouse build levels, and that would determine whether or not they do another reprint based on the life cycle of the standard product. In 2019, this kind of came to an end when 2020 rolled over, and a lot of people have been talking about what to call it, and it seems to be gaining traction that a lot of people are calling it the flashy card era, the FOMO era, but a new terminology yesterday really seems to be sticking, at least in my opinion, and that is this new crossover era. Now, I don't really know. I'm still kind of digesting all of this stuff, kind of like a bad kind of party night of tacos here, but I'm not really sure how to discuss all this with you all. I'm still kind of letting it all soak in before I make a nice long 20, 30-minute discussion, and maybe in the warehouse I'll film late night and talk about life kind of thing. But for right now, this crossover era, which really kicked off on the announcement of the 2021 Magic calendar, which is, we got a set coming out with like a mage school theme. People are calling kind of a Harry Potter crossover. Then we've got a Dungeons and Dragons style crossover. And now these secret layers are starting to cross over into pop culture and modern era things. We've never had that before, especially in cards that are not silver bordered. And this is really shaking up a lot of things, and it's really starting to clear the smoke of what to call this new era. And it definitely seems like this is the direction of Magic that we're going to be heading to. So we left 2019 on the backs of a lot of really good sets. The Guilds of Ravnica, which was return to return to return to return. Remember that whole thing? Which I couldn't believe they were doing return to Ravnicas. But Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Allegiance were actually incredibly successful. They were better than RTR and Gatecrash, in my opinion. And I think they're going to age better than RTR and Gatecrash. I think they're actually going to outrun the appreciation, the raw dollar amount, than those RTR Gatecrash boxes from 8-9 years ago. Crazy, huh? And then, of course, War of the Spark was a phenomenal product. It is what it is. Whether you like the Planeswalker in every pack mentality, or you just like the way the set was engineered. And then we also had the Dominaria before that. Of course, you had Core 20 before that. It was a great core set compared to Core 2019. And then everything shifted when Throne of Eldraine came out. Throne of Eldraine was a monster powerhouse, but then we had the invention of the flashy card era, as they say, was born. And on the backs of this 2020 flashy card era, and now this boiling over anger of unlike anything I've seen before with Magic because of this crossover. And I think what it is I don't think it's that people love or hate The Walking Dead. I don't think it really has anything to do with that. I think it's because one or two of the cards actually look pretty decent. They're black bordered, not silver bordered, so they're playable apparently, legal. On top of that, I think this really gives us a huge, huge insight to what's coming. And I think as a whole, Secret Lairs and Magic is going to be leaving a lot of the storylines, a lot of the old planes mindset of the different planes that Magic visited. And I think a lot of the lore is going to start to get a little, well, a lot of people said the lore died years ago. But I think we're going really into this new, I think Hasbro and Wizards is having these meetings and on top of the ivory tower with no pants. They got their suits on, perfectly fitted, spending $10,000 an outfit. And they're all talking about how to gain more players to the player base. And I think that's what they focus on. They feel that's what they think is the key to success when it comes to sales and raw increase of sales volume. So what I think they've all agreed on, and again, these are information we're not legally allowed to know. This is the lack of transparency that WotC and Papa Hasbro have always provided us. They don't want to tell us anything. But we have to go by actions. Actions show that they want Standard to be extraordinarily cheap. This has put an end to mass box opening and really decimated the secondary market for new Magic product. Number two, based on the focus of getting as many new players as possible to join Magic, they really like the success that Ikoria brought in the attraction of the Godzilla crossover. So this new crossover theme of this new crossover era, I really do think is going to change Magic forever on new products. I don't know if short term it's going to have a huge impact, but long term it's going to fall apart or be better. I don't know what the long term impact is at this time. Like I said, I'm still kind of digesting a lot of this news, a lot to take in. I mean, it's a giggity. It's a lot. It's just like, whoa. And I don't know. I don't know how Magic's going to feel, though, this time next year when there's multiple Secret Lairs based on different pop culture items, and all the standard sets have crossovers to Harry Potter's and Dungeons and Dragons, which sound cool on the surface, but I don't know the impact of the game and how the game will feel. That's kind of my thing. It's kind of in the video game world, they always say the worst retro video games in the video game world, the worst games to collect are sports games. The reason for that is because they age really badly. The new one comes out. The Madden 1999 comes out, and it makes the Madden 1998 on PlayStation 1 become worthless. That's what I'm afraid of. A lot of people kind of been using analogies that, I don't know, as these cultural shifts come and go, like in 5-10 years ago, or 5-10 years from now, if The Walking Dead isn't that important, how is that going to look in the world of Magic? In 10 years from now, if something changes and they got a crossover to, I don't know, some Ghostbusters theme thing, and Ghostbusters goes to crap, again, and how is that going to make Magic in those cards? I don't know. It adds a whole new layer of risk to this crossover era of Magic. The one thing I can say, just remember, no matter how negative everyone sounds and what you read on the internet, keep in mind those are very vocal, loud voices online. They tend to not represent the supposed 10, 15 million player base. So you got to remember that whenever you hear very loud voices online, you think everyone feels a certain way, you got to be very, very careful of that, because it doesn't. Remember, if there's 10 to 15 million Magic players, as Wizards claims, seeing even a video with 100,000 views on it does not even represent 1%, a tenth of 1%, a hundredth of 1% of the player base. You got to be very careful of that. And a lot of companies fall into that fallacy, and a lot of people who are trying to make decisions about future choices on buying, collecting, or investing, you got to be careful looking at those things, because they don't represent. They could be very blurry. They could really fog the truth. But that's what we see happening, and I don't know. This era of crossovers is risky. It really is. It really is risky, and I don't know if everyone's just a lot of hyperbole right now, and a lot of just the news is really just causing a shockwave and making people more dramatic, or if everybody's instinct is right and this really is going to be a major turning point in Magic. I mean, the amount of negativity is through the roof. It's unreal. I mean, just to give you guys a little tidbit here, I mean, the amount of people, like right now, you know, the amount of patrons and people talking about even buying the newer sets or boxes is very shaky. You know, I've been really thinking about a lot of this stuff, and I don't know where I don't know where things are gonna settle. I don't know if a lot of people, the kind of the silent majority, is just saying, yeah, whatever, let's just let everybody be upset with the reserve list and now this new thing or whatever the flavor of the month is. I don't know if that's really going to go that way when the dust settles in a month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 6 years. We don't know. But it definitely adds a lot of concern to someone like me who has a very large position in Magic, and you know, my stay the course mentality was based on certain principles and certain variables, and going into a new landscape that's very, very different is a little scary. It's a little scary, you know. So I wanted to kind of share that based on the backs of this Walking Dead secret lair. I'm very surprised the amount of impact over just a secret lair announcement. Kind of crazy. But you know, I did ask myself many times, so if there's all kinds of crossovers of secret lairs from all these Disney movies and TV shows and sitcoms and old movies and new movies, what does that turn Magic into? So is everyone going to have decks filled with cartoon characters? And I mean, am I going to be building a Peter Griffin Family Guy deck to go against your Homer Simpson Bart Simpson deck? Am I building, you know, a Stewie Griffin deck and Brian the Dog deck, and am I going to go against South Park next? You know, it kind of says, what kind of gameplay, what kind of weird. I mean, are you going to walk up to somebody and you're going to see a bunch of people playing South Park versus Bob's Burgers versus Aqua Teen Ninja Force, and then someone else throws down Frylock, and then someone else comes over here and starts playing some. Do you see what I'm saying? You're going to look at the game and go, is that a Seinfeld card versus Frasier and Friends in that 70s show versus, what are you playing? Oh, you're playing a Quagmire deck. What are you doing? You see what I'm saying? It's really going to lose its core components in the feel and the vibe of the archetypes, the themes, and the different type of cards. I mean, versus an angel deck or a goblin deck or a humans or Eldrazi. You know, we start going into this modern culture stuff mixed into what was supposed to be planeswalker things. So, yeah, it's kind of. It could be a big deal. I'm not sure if it's really going to age this way, because a lot of times Wizards does backpedal. We're going to cancel core sets. We're bringing them back. You see what I'm saying? You know, I mean, it's one of those things where it just adds a layer of risk. And a lot of people are just very unhappily, vocally saying that. But at the end of the day, I've told everyone the same thing. It's all about the data. So as we continue to make some videos to see how this unfolds, it's really going to come down to the raw data. In my opinion, when this secret lair goes live in whatever, a week, 2 weeks, a month, whenever it happens, in my opinion, it's probably going to be one of the best-selling secret lairs of all time. And Wizards is going to take that data, report it to Papa Hasbro. Papa Hasbro is going to hit the switch for the green light to go forward with more crossover pop culture era of Magic. And that's the problem with this. It creates a positive reinforcement. It's like if you have a son or daughter and they do something bad, or they hurt you, or they break something, and then you give them $20. They assume, wow, hurting people and doing bad things is the right thing to do. I get money. You know, and my concern of what I see happening is when this Walking Dead goes live, the secret lair, instead of selling maybe a normal 10, 20,000 copies or whatever secret lair sells, this thing could sell some sort of 50, 100,000 plus. And then of course, what if it oversells so much, it creates, you know, so much supply hits the market and it becomes worth nothing. Or what if it's so powerful, the cards skyrocket and it creates this weird thing where you have to buy a secret lair Walking Dead character to compete with a certain format. Or then maybe everybody creates their own house rules and the people start banning secret lairs as a whole on house kitchen table rules. It really makes the future very blurry. So that's my mindset right now, but it does feel like this crossover era is officially here, and it feels like 2020 is the birth of this new era. And I don't know what that means yet. I really don't. And I'm trying to kind of break it all down. I'm trying to build a Lego set in my head, and I'll keep making videos and talking to everybody about it. And I don't know, because it's very weird. I don't know if it's going to end up being a net negative. I don't know if it's going to be a positive in the short term and a huge loss in the long term. I don't know if a lot of people are just being angry and they turn around and do what they've done in the past and they quietly buy without anybody knowing. I see that all the time. Rudy, this new set is terrible. Rudy, how many cases can I buy? I see it all the time. The public vocalization does not match the private monetization in capital spending of what the verbiage is saying. We see that a lot. In other words, in very simple terms for a lot of you watching, the loud screaming anger on the internet does not match what the wallets and the flow of money is doing. If the flow of money is going in one direction, Wizards is going to take that as positive reinforcement, and they're going to continue that. So unless for some bizarre reason millions of people are able to get together and really boycott, prove something silly, stupid, cancel culture, whatever lingos and hot keywords you guys want to use, unless the world stops buying secret layers, Wizards is not going to change directions. That is the one and only thing that is going to cause a behavioral change. And that is the one and only thing that the community is not willing to do. Therefore, the crossover era is born, and that is where we are.